In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make lo-fi beats in Ableton Live. As usual, you can download the project file and all the samples completely free below this video. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at EDMTipsOfficial. And without further ado, let's hop into the door and get it done. Okay, so let's do it. Lo-fi, down-tempo, hip-hop style tunes that you could also use to make a deep house track. So let's get started. First, I'm going to select 140 BPM. So it's kind of actually half that tempo because we're going for that slower hip-hop vibe. And then we are going to create some cool chords because that's going to be the basis for the track. I'm just going to use the Ableton piano sounds that comes with it. Where is it? Grand piano equals solo. And let's just work out a couple of cool chords. Okay, my magic overhead spy cam is now on. So, seventh chords always sound really nice in this kind of music, kind of jazzy. But if you can't play the piano, like me, let's have a look at what's going on. First, I'm going to put this up an octave and I'm going to jam it out, and then we are going to listen to what I'm doing. So that's kind of riff that we're going to work out, and I'll show you how you can do it. So first let's record that in and then we'll break it apart. So we'll put the metronome on. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect because that kind of adds to that lo-fi vibe. So I'm just going to pull the first recording because it cut off the first note on the second one. So let's just delete that, consolidate, and now let's look at what's going on. So I'm doing this in the key of A minor natural just because it's the easiest key to work on. And then we can just grab everything and move it up to a different key if we want. So we can hear that I've screwed up a bit there. So if we take it back down, and then we are going to just look at what's going on. So we can draw in all the notes of A minor natural, and that's just every white note from A up to A. But the first note I'm playing is actually an A major. So it's switching from the major to the minor. And then we're switching to So we're switching from that first note to the other one, and that's pretty much all it is. And then we're adding the seventh as well. So if we were to draw this in from scratch, let's just delete all that. Draw in all the notes from A up to A, like so, just the white notes. And then if we copy and paste that down an octave, then up an octave, you now have 3 octaves of the key of A minor natural. You can press Fold. And then if you draw in any notes, they're going to sound good because they're in that key. So like I said, we want to switch the first note, the first chord to a major, and then the second one to a minor. Okay, let's move those before the clip so we can't hear them play. And the second bass note we are going to choose will be. And it's simple, see, I'm just using this template so you can't go wrong. If you want to know more about chord progressions, you can check out the video I've linked somewhere around there. So you see I'm just skipping a note each time, and now I've got this beautiful 7th chord. Let's turn it down a bit. But we want this first one to be a major. So all I'm going to do is unfold, and then the 3rd and the 7th, I'm just going to change. So you can see if I move it up 1 semitone, it now becomes major. But I have to move that 7th up as well, otherwise it's going to sound weird. And we'll do that for the second chord. So this is the chord that the chord progression we'll use. Really super simple, but really kind of emotional, ethereal. And what I did when I played it in was just play some trills. Now, you could spend the time, if you can't play the piano, programming all that in, which I recommend because you need it for the vibe. You don't want it to sound completely perfect. You want it to sound like there are some human discrepancies, because that's what's going to give it the feel. So let's just record that again. I'm going to record it over the top. So there we go. Now we've got a really kind of nice, authentic sounding, that is to say, quite poorly played piano riff. So let's just check it out. And you might have to go in and, you know, tweak a couple of notes if you've hit wrong notes. And you might have to tweak the timing slightly as well if you've kind of played out of time, as I have. So let's move those over a little bit. And that's a bit late, so we're going to pull that back a bit. And then we're going to pull these over a little bit. I'm holding Command so you can, well, after you've clicked, so then it's not attached to the grid. There we go. Some of the notes do need to be... So, if we have got this kind of wacky, out of time, slightly wonky sounding piano, let's use a free plugin. In fact, let's name this something. What are we going to call this? We're going to call this Lo-Fi Apple Pie, because I can. Okay, let's add this cool thing that I was talking about. So the free plugin is the iZotope vinyl. So I've put it in my special effects thing there. Let's see, why isn't it showing? Okay, whatever. Okay, that's strange. Some of my plugins aren't showing. Right, I'm going to have to quickly restart Ableton. Hang about. Okay, we're back in business. I don't know why some of those plugins didn't load, but they are here now. So let's go to special effects. I'm going to choose the iZotope vinyl. As I said, it's free, and this is going to give it that lo-fi feeling. So have a listen to the piano with this on. So you can add some wobble, add some scratch. But I don't like that. But this sounds pretty cool, lo-fi. So now it sounds like it's playing on an old record player, and that's kind of the basis for the track. So if we go over to our auxiliary channel, you can see I've got a Hall reverb, which is just a reverb with a long decay time, a bit of a boost on the old gain, and then EQing out the low end. And you can hear it's adding vinyl crackle as well all the time, that vinyl plugin. So I'm just going to add some of this Hall reverb to it too. Not too much, just a little bit. And that's the basis for our track. So next thing we are going to do is add some atmosphere to even build this out further. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop in a rain sample. So I'm getting this from Splice, but you can get them from wherever. That's quite nice. There, that's got a nice kind of textural frequency range to it. So if we just whack that on there and have it really low in the mix, check this out. Okay. You can almost hear the manga character crying into her study book. So there you go. That's what we're trying to create. We're trying to convey an emotion. That's all we're trying to do with music. And we've got this chilled lo-fi vibe on this. Next thing we're going to do is add those drums. Now, as I said, you can do this for any genre. It doesn't have to be kind of down tempo. You could do this for a deep house track. So I'm going to use a 808 closed tap to give it that kind of hip hop drum machine vibe. And if we just put one on every 16th, it might be every 8th actually, because it's double tempo. And you can hear that they're not perfectly in time with the piano, and that's good because it gives it that slightly loose vibe, which is what we're going for in this genre. And you can always go into the MIDI of the piano and tweak it up a little bit if you want. But in the meantime, and you can see here, this hi-hat sample actually has got a bit of delay at the beginning. So it's even more slightly off the beat. And don't worry, because the snare and the kick is going to pull everything in time. So let's get that kick and the snare on the go. First thing I'm going to do is choose a kind of dusty sounding snare, and it's all about choosing the right sound. I quite like that one, so I'm just going to drop that in. You know, search around in some sample packs, but you can download all the samples completely free below this video as well. How would it be in drum and bass? So let's put snare on every snare beat. And then we're going to find another kind of hip-hoppy snare, kick. We might layer a kick actually, because I quite like that one. It's got a nice feel to it. And I'm doing this in MIDI because we're going to add some groove to it, which is way easier if you're not doing it in audio. You could totally do it in audio and just shift everything slightly, but this gives you more flexibility. Okay, I'm going to tweak the piano a little bit. It's a bit time consuming, but it's worth taking the time to do it. Move those over slightly. And now we're going to add the other kick underneath some of them, which is just a bit heavier. So let's now layer those kicks up. So let's just duplicate those. And now let's add some open hats to get some real groove going on in those hats. So again, we're going to use an 808 sound. Let's load that into our drums. Whoops. Dragging it all over the place. Come on, get in there. Right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the release to minimum, the decay to minimum, and the sustain to full, which means every time the MIDI note stops being shown, it stops playing. So you can hold it for longer or just make a shorter one like this. And I'm just going to repeat that simple open hat loop. And we're going to fatten these drums up when the bass comes in, no worries at all. That's sounding pretty nice. So now let's get the bass in, and I'm just going to use a really, really simple sine wave, which I'm going to make in the operator, but you can make it in any synth really. So let's play. I'm going to kind of do it to the rhythm of the kicks to get something that works rhythmically with the rest of the track. I might even add some pitch bend. And then record that. So we'll have to tweak that a tiny bit, of course, which is fine. You know, I prefer to play it in live for something like this because you get more of a feel for it. So let's just drop that. And you can be more accurate now and get it really tight where you want it. I'm going to add a little bit of pitch bend in the first one, a bit more, like so. So that bass is kind of following the pattern of the kick. And these little discrepancies, like that little weird pitch bend, can add to the vibe. Oh, look, it's gone all wonky up there. Never mind. Cool. All right, let's do some processing because that's what's going to give it the vibe. We've already had a taste of it with the piano sounds, but now we're going to build this out, make it sound even fatter with some mixing. Let me know if you like this. I know it's a break from a norm. Give me a hell yeah or an amen, brother, in those comments below because I love to hear from you guys. And don't forget, you can download this project too. Even if you don't make lo-fi down tempo, could be good to muck around with. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another MIDI channel and we're going to play the same two chords, but we're going to use a different sound. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the, I think I'll use Kontakt. So I'm going to find an organ sound, vintage keys, but you don't have to use Kontakt. You could use an Ableton pack if that's what you're using. So that will add like even more of a dusty old school feel. So I'm just going to draw these in, and I will draw these kind of accurately. So again, the same chords as before. You can use the template technique if you want. Let's draw these chords in. but I'm going to do a chord inversion and I'll show you what that means in a minute. But first, let's get these 4 chords in, or 2 chords. And then we go to the minor. Nice. Now what we can do is we can invert this by selecting one of the notes from within the chord, holding shift and just shifting it up an octave. Let's do it with a couple of them. So now everything's closer together on the keyboard and it's going to sound more cohesive and more jazzy. I might even add another note in there. I think that's probably a 9th or maybe an 11th. Can't work it out. That's nice. And what we're going to do, we could use the vinyl, the iZotope vinyl, but I'm going to use a different plugin. It does a kind of similar thing, but it is a premium one. But I'll just give you a quick example of it anyway. It's the Super VHS by Baby Audio. So let's just have a listen to what it does. Add some drift so it wobbles. In fact, I will leave this on, but what I'll do is I'll bounce this track down, this one, so you've got the stem, so you don't need this plugin. But I want to use it because it sounds nice and I like it. But what I might do is add a vinyl on after it, just to take out some of that low end. And let's hear that with everything. Okay, so now let's fatten up those beats. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just make the kick sound a bit distorted, a bit bigger. And what I'm going to do is just stick an EQ on that and boost the low end. That's the first thing I'm going to do. You could use Bark of Dog, which is a nice free plugin. You can see it's distorting now. But I don't mind. That's the effect that I want on this. So I'm going to chuck a saturator on afterwards, and it should kind of act almost as a limiter. Yeah, so it's just taking that peak off, but the beats sound heavier now. So if we bust the bass and the kick together, I'm just going to group them in Ableton like this. Call it kick and bass bus. My masterclass students will know about this technique. And then I'm just going to make that sound even fatter. So let's hear the bass and the kick together. Let's just saturate the whole thing. And I'm going to put a limiter on there as well, because we don't want to be clipping on the master channel. But it gives the whole feel now much more of a kind of gritty lo-fi feel. You know, I might even adjust the velocity of these high bass notes because they get a bit loud. So I'm just going to select them all, hold down Command, and just take the volume down a bit. Okay, the velocity hasn't been assigned to the volume yet because it was just a default patch. So the way I'm going to do it, well, I change it to one note at a time because that's all we need. And then I'm going to assign the velocity to I guess I haven't actually done this on this plugin before, but I guess assign it to the velocity plugin. Sorry, assign it to the volume of that oscillator. Yeah, and now you can hear where I've drawn in a lower velocity, it's quieter. Velocity is a useful son of a bitch. Now I want to grit those drums up a bit as well. So what I'm going to do is I'll throw on, I might throw on an erosion. I think it works on the hats, but not the snare. So let's just put it on the hats. We can actually just group those together like this as kind of a nested drum rack. Getting a bit professor now. And then we are going to just stick that erosion device. Oh, did I not copy it? Oh, okay. I'll just do another one. At the end of this rack. And the last thing I'm going to show you how to do, first I'm going to take some of the low end out of the piano. Okay, we got some mastering issues here. So we should go back and then gain stage everything, turn it all down. But I'm kind of on a time limit here. So what I would do, no, let's do it. Let's do things properly. Do things proper. That's my motto. So grab everything, just drag it down. This is what you should do if you get clipping on the master channel. You can always turn your monitoring up like I've just done. I want more snap to that snare though. So what I'm going to do for that is probably, I might just do it with an EQ actually, just an EQ boost. So your neck's kind of snapping when it plays. And then the last thing I'm going to show you how to do, let's just record a vocal actually. Of someone talking. Me, I'm going to talk. And now I'm recording a vocal. It helps if you have an English accent. It gives it more gravitas, like something you might have heard in a dream, or maybe something from the future. I don't know what I was thinking there. Don't bother giving up your day job yet, David Attenborough. I don't think I'll be taking over anytime soon. And now I'm recording a vocal. It helps if you have an English accent. It gives it more gravitas. It doesn't matter if you can hear what is being said. And now I'm recording a vocal. It helps if you have an... It's just for effect. So the way we can add effect to that is obviously add some reverb to it. But I'm going to throw another one of those vinyls on there. So come on, baby. Give me your vinyl. And now I'm recording a vocal. It helps if you have an English accent. It gives it more gravitas, like something you might have heard in a dream, or maybe something from the future. And now I'm recording a vocal. It helps if you have an English accent. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a delay at the end of that vocal, just to let the future thing kind of roll out. So we go echo on an auxiliary channel, so we've got more control over it. 100% wet. Let's just experiment, ping pong. Dream, or maybe something in the future. Yeah, okay, so this should be good. Maybe something in the future. And I'll make it go half the speed of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to automate this send automation. And now I'm recording a vocal. It helps if you have an English accent. It gives it more
have heard in a dream, or maybe something from the future.
Just this bit from the future. Gravitas, remember that.
Maybe something from the future.
Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pump the reverb up on that. Sorry, the feedback. Add a little bit of reverb on that delay. And then I'm going to compress this vocal. So let's just compress it because the future's a bit quiet. And
now I'm recording a vocal. It helps if you have an English accent. It gives it more gravitas, like something you might have heard in a dream, or maybe something from the future.
Okay, almost done. So what we could do then is, let's say, just duplicate that loop. And then you've got two little bits. We'll turn off the piano for this second part.
And now I'm recording.
And I'm going to use one more free plugin. I'm going to use the Ozone Imager. I'm going to spread it nice and wide.
And now I'm recording a vocal. It helps if you have an English accent. It gives it more gravitas, like something you might have heard in a dream, or maybe something from the
Nice. Okay, guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this. As I said, it's a bit of a break from the norm, but I'm going to do a little bit more work on this because I need to listen to it with fresh ears in about an hour's time to hear what the mix needs doing. But what I'm going to do, I said I'll give you an example of how you might use this technique for a deep house track. So if we just turn this is going to be random, but let's turn this to 124 deep house tempo. We'll turn this off and we're just going to switch out the drums. So in fact, we're going to leave the kick, but do a deep house kick pattern. And we're going to change the bass line slightly. Okay, so we'll just do it with the first half. I told you this is random. Deal with it. Now let's get more of a deep house bass line. I'm going to tweak the bass control actually. So it's got a bit of a decay on it, a release. So it's a bit softer bass. And the drums obviously need to change. We'll leave those hats there because I like them. We're just going to take the snare out. So delete the snare and then put the clap in its place. Don't worry, you can download this before I make all these changes. Okay, let's load in another one. Something went wrong with the routing there. And then it's just about using the same notes from the bass line, but changing the rhythm up a bit. So that, as I said, is a bit of a random one, but you can download the kind of down-tempo version anyway. I'm gonna just layer one more drum on there, because it's gonna make it sound better immediately. All about drums, yeah, drum selection, sound selection, layering. And I'm gonna take it slightly in front. Let's just put an open hat in there. We'll use a 909 this time. This is a whack track. Like, I liked it before I tried to make it into a house track, but this is the joy of unedited videos. Sounds a bit better at that. Anyway, there you have it, guys. Download it before I did this horrible mess of a deep house track, and I hope you've learned some new tricks today. Thanks for watching. Share it with your friends if you like. If you want tutorials like this each and every week and a whole lot more, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel and then click that notification bell as well. Until next time, thanks for watching. Cheers and happy producing.